often, as we're talking about, we don't recognize the effects that trauma has on us, either emotionally, mentally, physically. It often will look like depression, and it shows up in behaviors that we know about that often work against us, and it often manifests itself as anger. A question I've got specifically for our clinicians in the room: what does trauma look like with the folks that you're treating? How does it typically show up? And what's the best way to treat trauma, especially for boys and men of color that are dealing with everything that we're dealing with today? I mean, society alone is a barrage. So how does that show up, and how do we treat boys and men of color that are suffering from trauma?
I know. Anybody want to go next before? I don't want.
Well, if I could just jump in there.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, you were next. You had it next, but go ahead.
That's okay. I was just thinking that what happens as far as treating young men of color, what it looks like is for a lot of young men, for men of color, is they're angry. And so it comes out in anger, it comes out in aggression, it comes out in even shame because of literacy, maybe not going to school or something like that. And so not being able to pick up those habits, not being able to pick up the developmental process that comes along with their age and age appropriate behaviors and even moving along in school. So sometimes that gets witnessed upon with domestic violence, or it could be general or severe neglect where the parents just weren't there. So that's what it may look like, as well as depression. So what the guys do to cope with that is they'll go out with the homies because that's the neighborhood. Hey, that's my best friend down the street. It's not necessarily, back in the day, they weren't gangs, they were groups. So that's my homies, so I'm gonna hang around with the homies, and then we're gonna be around each other, and then that becomes like a family. And then from there, other things start to happen because now you got the rules of the street. So the way to treat it, the way that I've found to be very effective is actually coming together in the groups with the young men and meeting them where they're at, not using a whole lot of clinical lingo, but really just coming down and saying, hey, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this experience and how did it affect you? And you have the other men in there who can also relate. And then now you got the sharing of the stories, you got an outpour of emotion, and then being able to demonstrate, hey, this group right here is appropriate. We're encouraging each other. We're supporting each other. We got each other's backs. That's what it looks like to be healthy and being able to share in that sense.
Yeah. Is that it, my brother?
That's it.
Thank you for your thought, man. Thank you for your sharing. And I mean, you guys want to elaborate a little bit, debrief, or want to go to the next?
No, absolutely. Go on.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. No, just to elaborate on the question, right? Like because these are my realities. I'm gonna tell you my realities right now. I got 4 kids out of here right now, somewhere else because they got shot. They were part of the 6 shootings that happened out here in Sacramento. Went national news. I had to get some of them to speak on the camera because a lot of times organizations are saying they're doing A, B, C, and D. And then when I send these families to go and get resources, there's no follow-on, there's no consistency. So there's really no checks and balances with the people that are there to provide services for our people, right? That's one problem, right? And that's a problem that we have to deal with in our own people, within our own behind the scenes, right? But the main reality is that we have abusive systems. We have these sheriffs that are just like sharks, in these communities of color, harassing and terrorizing. These kids don't have their big homies no more. Everybody's locked up. The reality is we don't have the solutions. The incarceration rates of Black and brown people in California show that none of these solutions have worked. And they continue to not work until we develop our own new models. We do our own research based on our own realities, based on our own experiences, based on the trauma that's impacted here. And a lot of times, organizations and people are talking about trauma-informed this and the dialogue just to get the grants and the money. but the work is not providing quality results. We need to train our organizations so they can provide quality results. We need to hold the foundations accountable to stop putting so much pressure on them to be stuck in the office all the time doing administrative work. And we need to hire more people to be in the streets, to be engaged, to be rapid crisis responders, to be doing assessments of the people that are out there, to be providing medical care for the youth that are out there, or the older people that are out there that are dying out there in the streets that have serious health issues, and they're just out there, nobody's attending to them, right? So it's a problem of a system. It's a problem of multi-generational trauma. It's a problem of being poor. It's a problem of just being labeled and being harassed, and it's a problem of us being stuck in a cycle that an oppressive system kept us in for a long time in the darkness. But now, after these phones and social media, like the narrative is changing. Yep. We're taking back our communities. We're holding people accountable. We're doing things like defunding the police that were never thought possible. We changed the first after they killed Stefan Carr and we got arrested. 85 of us got arrested. Right? We filed a lawsuit and we pushed AB 392 with Kevin McCarty. Now he's pushing Prop 17 voting rights for people on parole. So people have a voice on what the realities they face. How are you making laws against our people and us, but we can't even participate in the engagement of voting, right? And so we changed that in Florida. In 3 days, we went out and did a conference, brought 1,000 formerly incarcerated people from across the country that are all movement builders, and we made that happen. And that's what we're doing in Sacramento statewide with the partners as we're changing laws. But now on a local level, we need to start working and supporting our grassroots organizations who are out here working for peanuts or not getting anything and doing quality work, but yet not having the financial backing. And vice versa, educating the organizations that are getting the funding that could use support on how to develop better services and maybe hire some of these community independent organizers to work for them and to uplift their organizations, and together, communities working together. It has to be a collaborative effort. Yeah. In order to change the narrative and all these youth that have been dying from pills. You know how many? I had like 4 youth overdose in 1 month, this past month, right? 3 of them died. Right. And it's like nobody's talking about this. Nobody's like 2 months ago, there was probably like 6, 7 shootings. Right. And like there was like about 3 or 4 murders. Right. Or 5, if not. Right. I just like lose count. And it just like happens so periodically. Like who shows up to talk to the mothers and offer a car wash, offer support to bury these their loved ones? Because that's a lot of money on top of the grief. Right. Who shows up for a community where to hold these youngsters accountable because their big homies are not there to keep them straight? Who are their uncles? Who are their mothers? And how do we bring these kids from the village to hey, let's tone this crap down. Let me talk to these other homeboys and let's see if they're representative so we can mediate this stuff. Let's take you guys and let's go to a boxing ring, or let's go play some basketball. Let's get to know each other because these people are black and brown just like you. And so nobody's having these discussions with their kids, right? And so I just want to end on that. We need to do a lot more.
Henry, no, I appreciate your contribution. You're a very articulate man, and you have so much insight, man. I know we could talk for days. I really love the point that you made about how much is untalked about, how much is untreated in our communities.